Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll call this meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order. Would you please stand and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. A roll call.
Alderman Turner is absent. Alderman Milner.
Present.
Alderman Dickerson. Here. Alderman Dorhoff.
Present.
Alderman Miller.
Present.
Alderman Bockelman. Here. Alderman Reese. Present. Alderman Davidson.
Present.
And Mayor Bowman.
Present. Thank you. We do have a quorum. And we do have a ceremonial matter tonight. Is Bob, there's Bob. I saw you got called out, so I wasn't sure. Robert Casada, if you would please step to the front, please. He's on duty tonight, so he may have to go in any moment. Bob, as most of us know him, has been with the city of Harrisonville now for 10 years with the fire department. So we're incredibly excited, and we want to award you a certificate to honor that. And let your fellow folks come on in here. Family, come on up. No? So on behalf of the Board of Aldermen, I want to congratulate you and tell you thank you so much for your service to the city. And we hope you'll be here for many more years.
Plan on it.
All right. Let's step over here, guys. Come on around here. I think they want to take some pictures. Chief? Does anybody want to say anything about this guy? This is your chance. Joe?
Great guy.
Chief?
Good employee, hard worker. Yeah, hope he's here forever. Longer than me.
Yeah, he's a lifer.
He's a lifer?
Pretty much.
We like you a lot. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Cheese.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You know, the city's employees are our most valuable asset, and I just love recognizing them. Okay, let's do public participation. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the board, step forward now and please give your name and address into the microphone.
I'm John Foster, 2619 Duncan Circle, Harrisonville. Is it permissible to have handouts?
Absolutely. Thank you, John.
Mayor Bowman and board, I want to share a little bit of ancient history with you. And
Keep your
then
microphone up just a little. There you go.
I want to share a little bit of ancient history with you, if I might, and then I want to talk about a possibility. What I handed out to you was an aerial view of the downtown area. You'll notice a black line on there, and we'll talk about that in just a second. 47 years ago, there was an assassination here on the square. We're into the third generation now, and we got outer towners that is interested in buying some of our buildings and putting businesses around here. And one of the things that we have to do is support those people, and I think it is this board's responsibility to do that. We started with a comprehensive plan in the late 60s. And in that comprehensive plan, the biggest problem was that we didn't have any outlets from around the square. And consequently, when the assassinations happened, why interest lost in the square, interest lost in comprehensive plans, and what was going on downtown was ignored. Now we're back to where we need to give it some attention. And I feel like that what I have seen in the last 4, 5, or 6 weeks, I've seen boundary survey stakes on the 2 lots the city owns on Mechanic Street. Now, opportunity only lets you have an opportunity usually once in life. I would like to see that lot on the east side of the Stewart House next to the Historical Society, that street be widened to 28 or 36 foot wide and taken all the way up to Pearl Street. That's about 750 foot of street. I took time on the 23rd of January to draw this out, to detail the blocks and so forth. I brought this drawing up to City Hall, but somewhere along the line it's got misplaced. And after seeing the flags down there, I don't know what's going on. But I would like to see this council kind of put a moratorium on that until you have an opportunity to see what the cost of this street and whether or not you would be interested in trading 2 lots for the Historical Society. The City Hall can certainly use a parking lot. I designed a 20-car parking lot on that. This lot, you would be taking about 26 feet of it if you made a center lane left turn street. I would like to think that we have the potential of having tour buses come onto the square where they can come down Wall Street, turn, and get out on Mechanic Street and go either way. But if we don't do some planning, we're still going to end up with 15-foot alleys. And that's what this town laid out with. And all of the original towns that way. And I feel like that we need to pause, do a little study, do some cost estimate, and then look at also on the west side of the square, taking a street down from Pearl Street to Mechanic Street. But anyhow, that's what I would like to present to you. I have any questions? I know this is a spur of the moment thing for you people, but I kind of pushed the panic button when I found out that it hadn't been presented to you.
Questions?
Are you thinking 2-way street there, John, or just
Oh, yes,
one-way?
definitely. And I really would like to see it with the possibility of center lane left turn, a 36-foot wide street. So as people come off of Mechanic Street and they want to pull into the parking lot, they can pull into the center lane and the right-hand traffic can go by. If they want to come down to Mechanic Street, if they want to turn right, they pull in the center lane, and of course center lane if they want to go left. And you wouldn't be blocking traffic, you'd get a traffic flow.
Any other questions for Mr. Foster from the board? Thank you, John.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the Board of Aldermen? Step to the microphone. And please give us your name and address into the microphone for the clerk. Gentlemen.
Steve Tiedman, 1710 Ann Avenue, Harrisonville, Missouri.
Chad Burlingame, 1901 Twin Oaks Drive in Harrisonville, Missouri.
Did you get that, Mr.? Yes. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. As you know, we, with the help of the community and everything else, we were able to get the moving wall into Harrisonville. And we personally wanted to come up and thank the board and thank the mayor and the city. We've got letters of appreciation that are being made and framed. Unfortunately, they haven't come in yet, been finished, but we wanted, before it got too late and we lost any of the hoopla from that, we wanted to come up and thank everybody for all your help. And we brought 35,000 people to Harrisonville. So thank you for everything and standing behind us and helping us with this. Another thing we want to do is we want to let you guys know that if you have a project that you think that the American Legion would be helpful in, please reach out to us, because we are a community organization. We are here to help.
Well, on behalf of the board and on behalf of the city, we should be the ones thanking you for having the vision and bringing the moving wall a reality to Harrisonville, because had you not been here in front of us in November of last year asking for us to support your vision, it would not have happened. So I think it goes to show what can happen when a community works together. So thank you for your service and thank you for your contribution. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Good evening. Please state your name and address into the microphone.
Rick DeLuca, 236 Southwest Raintree Drive in Lisa. Hello.
Good evening.
I'd heard that somebody had mentioned that staff, myself included, or maybe even some of my staff, stated that Timber Drive did not have to go to the property line. And I wanted to go on record saying that is not the case, absolutely not the case. Nobody on staff ever said that, period. I just want to be clear about that. I wouldn't come down here and spend an evening with you all unless I felt strongly about something. But if you really think about it, and you know, I don't have access to maps right now, but if you really think about it, if you look up and down the 291 corridor, you have roads that even have an opportunity to punch out. Two of them go right through Hillcrest, that's Delmar and Crestwood. Then you have a private drive in front of that Dollar General that went vacant. And then you have a possibility of crossing that creek down at Royal Street. There's approximately 250 acres there, ballpark. I mean, I don't have access to the maps. I'm doing this all off the top of my head. 250 acres. If you look at 3 units per acre, that's about 750 living units. 10 trips per living unit would be about 7,500 trips on that property that the Wilburn property would have. Now, those 7,500 trips, give or take, those cars are going to have to go somewhere. What percentage of them are going to want to go to 291, to go to Walmart, some of the retail? What percentage of them are going to want to go to the hospital or even access the highway? Quite a bit of those trips. The last thing, in my opinion, the board should do is try to force all that traffic down the streets in Hillcrest or on a narrow little private drive that some want to turn into a street, or shove it all the way through another street and then funnel it all the way through intersections that are undeveloped. It is important we get collector networks on large tracts of land. That is very important. And that is something that I just wanted to go on record, because that would be a big mistake, a huge mistake if that collector road did not go in. And eventually it needs to punch out at Timber Drive on the other side to where you could have a collector roadway signalized accessing 291 highway. It's good for traffic safety, good for traffic flow. Okay, and honestly, it'll save you money in the long run too. So, I don't want to commend Mr. Foster. He's thinking about the transportation in this city, and that's something that really people do need to think about. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Have a good evening.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board this evening? If not, we'll close public participation and move on to our agenda. I would ask you at this point to please silent any cell phones that are in the room. First on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the Board of Aldermen work session of July 15th.
Move to approve?
Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Milner and a second from Alderman Dorhoff to approve those minutes of the work session. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Those minutes are approved. Next are the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen, July 15th.
Motion to approve?
Thank you. I have a motion from Alderman Davidson and a second from Alderman Reese to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen, July 15. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Those minutes stand approved. Agenda items. The first thing is the September 2nd meeting. Mr. Welch, did you want to speak to that?
It's just that we have a holiday that normally that's when we have our meeting. It'll be that first Monday of September. We also have MML the following week. So to keep in mind, we either would just meet the one Monday, which would be the 16th, or if you want to meet on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th.
Do you, yeah.
So we'll be working on budget, but I'm not sure if we'll have anything to present at that point, or unless we're going to do, unless we do a work session. But we do the work session before the September meeting. I believe in the past we have skipped that meeting.
Can we put it to where we will skip that meeting unless something comes up, and then we can stick one in like on the 23rd or 16th, something like that, if need be?
Something early or something.
Yeah.
And it is also on a holiday week, so we didn't know if anybody was going to be gone.
So let's do this. Let's say that we will, if we need to meet, that we would meet on Tuesday, September 3rd instead of Monday, September 2nd. Well, is that agreeable with everybody? Okay. So for right now, we won't meet, but if something comes up and we need to meet, we'll plan to meet on Tuesday, September 3rd. Thank you. Moving on, Council Bill 48.
Council Bill 48 is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Zones for purchase of 18 personal computers and 1 laptop computer in the amount of $21,577.44 and establishing an effective date.
Hello again. So this is our normal kind of housekeeping purchase for the year. We normally buy about midway through the year, just making sure we don't need to pick up anything extra that's beyond what was budgeted. We haven't done that this year. These are all budgeted items, broke out amongst all the departments. So unless anyone has any questions.
And just so the audience knows, Jeremy Smith is our IT director, and he was addressing us earlier at a work session, so we spent about an hour with him on a lot of these things, so we're well versed with what
Right.
he's asking for.
Yes, sorry for the brevity.
It's okay.
Jeremy, 18 is what percentage of our personal computers?
It's about 20%.
Okay, so every 5 years, I think you mentioned that earlier.
We run on a 4-year cycle on PCs, and we try to run through those. We've tried to spread that out, so we're doing about a quarter each. A couple of years are a little heavier than others.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jeremy?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Okay. I have a motion from Alderman Davidson and a second from Alderman Miller to approve Council Bill 48. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Council Bill 48 is approved and becomes Resolution 033. Council Bill 49.
Council Bill 49 is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen authorizing the city administrator to enter into a service agreement with KC Web Incorporated to provide internet services to the city and allow KC Web to utilize the city's infrastructure to provide service and establishing an effective date.
All right, so I also alluded to this earlier, but I'll elaborate. This is our current ISP, so our current internet provider. We have partnered with them for the last 4 years in regards to internet, and they utilize one of our old towers and for some offset to the cost of our internet service. Nope. when they approached us about potentially raising the amount of internet service they could provide to us, we are working towards using some of our existing fiber infrastructure to benefit the city for a higher level of service, and as well as offsetting some of the cost to them for providing us that service.
Again, we talked about this in work session, so are there any other questions that the board has for Jeremy?
I mean, I can elaborate on the reasons why if you feel that's necessary.
You might
There
for
was-
the audience.
So some of the reasons that we're looking for a significantly higher amount of internet service is just because of the limitations that we see as far as expanding into cloud services and backup services that we do, as well as just anything that we can offer to our customers through any of those online services. So we have been severely limited. We're kind of on an island out here in Harrisonville when it comes to internet service. We did approach the other incumbent telcos. We determined that the offer from KC Web was our best avenue of approach, and so we pursued the contract with them.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion from Alderman Miller with a second from Alderman Dickerson to approve Council Bill 49. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Council Bill 49 becomes Resolution 034.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a public hearing on the sign regulation changes. Is there anyone in the office that wishes to speak about the change to the size of the signs, or temporary signs in the sign ordinance? Seeing no one, I'll close that public hearing and we'll move on to Council Bill 50.
Council Bill 50 is an ordinance amending section 435125 of the city code, establishing the size restriction of special signs. First reading, Council Bill 50.
Mr. Welch?
So we have discussed this in our work sessions, took this to planning and zoning, did the proper public hearing there, did the public hearing here. And that's to increase banner sizes from 6 square feet to 32 square feet in the commercial district. We had discussed that this would be better for, it's not related to what's on the sign, it's just that we're saying you can do the 32 square feet. So it has nothing to do with what the content is, it's just the size. But allowing that the larger size to be out in the commercial area for nonprofits, for businesses, whoever.
Political sign.
And political. Yep.
Okay, so we've discussed this, as Mr. Welch said, several times.
This is first reading, is that correct?
Right.
This is the first reading.
I make a motion, we go ahead and move it to the second reading.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Milner and a second from Alderman Dorhoff that we advance Council Bill 50 to its second reading. Roll call, please.
Alderman Davidson,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Dorhoff,
Aye.
Alderman Bockelman,
Aye.
Alderman Milner,
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Turner is absent, and Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Second reading.
Council Bill 50 is an ordinance amending section 435.125 of the city code, establishing the size restrictions of special signs. Second reading, Council Bill 50.
Roll call.
Alderman Milner,
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Dorhoff,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Bockelman,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Davidson,
Aye.
and Alderman Turner absent.
Thank you. Council Bill 50 passes and becomes Ordinance 3471. The next item is the Brian Renner public hearing. We'll go ahead and have Mr. Crow come to the microphone.
We would ask you to please continue this to the September 16th meeting. It's a public hearing and an application for a rezoning, a preliminary plat, and a final plat. We're waiting for some information to come in before we run it through the Planning Commission and the Board of Aldermen.
So we just need a motion to continue, please.
Motion to continue?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, Alderman, a motion from Alderman Davidson with a second from Alderman Miller to continue the Brian Renner public hearing to the September 16th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll postpone that to September 16th. Moving on to the next item, the special use permit hearing for Mr. Holzman. And that's still you, Mr. Crowe.
Okay. I'm going to speak from over here because we've got some slides up here. This is an application for a 10-year special use permit to operate a solid waste transfer station at 2901 South Brick Plant Road. Here's the location. This is roll-off services. They provide roll-off dumpsters. Church and Dwight, advanced ADS right down here in Durham Bus. This is all zoned M1. The applicant, Mr. Gail Holzman, who's with us in the room with American Waste Systems, operated this facility for 12 years for what is now Republic Waste, if I'm correct. But now he and his company are wanting to buy it. Buy it from, it's owned by Bill and Nancy Shelton, wanting to buy it and open it up again. The in between times, well, first of all, I learned today that John Foster built this a number of years ago, from about 94 to 2006. Republic was in it, operating it as a transfer station. Since then, a company's been in it that provides temporary office spaces, kind of office spaces that you might see on construction sites and so forth. Here's another side of it, or another picture of it. Zooming in a little bit. Here it is from the street level. These are some of the temporary office spaces for construction sites, whatever, that are no longer there. This was the company that has been there since the transfer station operated. Another picture again, all the trailers are off there. Anyway, that's all the slides. In the write-up, you'll see all the reasons that we're recommending approval. The Planning Commission also unanimously recommended approval. There are 14 stipulations. I won't go through them all, but the stipulations are things like there shall be no noticeable odors at the property line. Noise shall not exceed 75 dBA at the property line. Cars shall not queue up on Brick Plant Road waiting to get in the morning, or trucks. And then one that I think the community will benefit from the most is that Mr. Holzman will be open for 4 hours on Saturdays. That will help people who are cleaning out their garages, tearing down buildings in the backyard or whatever, piles of brush, can get it here on a Saturday morning, because right now around here there's recycling stations or recycling centers, but there's not a place like a nearby landfill or transfer station where you can dispose of your weekends work. So we think that'll be real beneficial for the community. Approximately 60% of the use of this, which will be 12 to 15 trucks a day, is going to be American Waste Services, Mr. Holzman's company. The other 40% is going to be other companies and individuals that are bringing product to them. Again, we think it's compatible for the area, particularly since it's got about a 12-year track record, and to the best of our records, minimal, if any, minimal problems. The most some of the department heads that have been around a while told me about is there were sometimes, if there was trash left overnight uncovered, there was odor issues, but we're not aware of very many instances of that. So again, Planning Commission recommends approval, staff recommends approval, subject to the 14 stipulations. You'll see in your packet all 14 stipulations are listed in the staff report, but the ordinance cut off 7 of them. So I've passed out another revised ordinance that has all 14 stipulations. I think the city attorney is going to recommend we first amend, do a motion amending it, and then vote on it. Mr. Holzman's in the audience. Be happy to answer any questions, and this is a public hearing item.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for your time here tonight and allowing us to come in front of you all and talk about trash tonight. I think trash is a big issue in our lives. Everybody has it, and you're always going to have it.
Can we get your name and address just for our record, please,
sir.
Thank you.
My name is Gail Holzman, Holsman, and my office is 11610 Grandview Road, Kansas City, Missouri, 64137. I do live at 206 North Winnebago Drive, and Lake Winnebago, 64063. My first job when I was 17 years old was working for Cass County Disposal right here in Harrisonville. So I grew up here in my work life working for Jim and Dale Atkinson. Matter of fact, I used to haul my own neighborhood in Lake Winnebago when I was a kid, and told this old boy I was going to buy his house someday. And sure enough, I got it done. Took 43 years, but I think it was worth it. So I've been here my whole life. So this is not like somebody coming in from Chicago and saying, I'd like to come into your town and make money off you guys. That's not what the intention is. The intention is I'm a private hauler, and I have issues with the Nationals because they're the only ones in Kansas City allow us to be able to dump in their sites, so they control us pretty heavily, as you can imagine. We think by putting this transfer station in Harrisonville, it's going to definitely help my company. There's no doubt about it, because it's going to give me control. It's not a moneymaker, believe it or not. I can show you the numbers. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's really, if it holds its own, you're really way ahead. But what it does do is it makes convenience. It allows us to be able to control our trash flow. And with that, I'd like to introduce Mike Claggett, which is my co-partner here. Mike worked for Def Ball for over 40 years as Ronnie Def Ball's #1 lieutenant. And so you have a lot of experience sitting in front of you. I'm 62 years old, been in the trash business my whole life. And Mike's been in over 40 years. So we're here to answer any questions that you guys would like to have on the issues as far as putting a transfer station here. I believe it so much, I just bought On Time Disposal 3 weeks ago out of Butler, Missouri, which also serviced a lot of Belton and here in Harrisonville. Those guys were having a pretty rough time making it because of the landfill situation. And we were fortunate enough to strike a deal, which we did. And so my company is growing. We are based out of Martin City at Blue Ridge and Holmes Road, right behind the volleyball court. That's where we park our trucks. If we're successful doing what we're going to try to do here with the transfer station, there will be a base location here as well to serve the south zones. So we'll have 2 locations. Now, let me tell you how this works. This is a step process. Roger and I have worked together on getting you guys involved in what we need to do. This is the first step. If we get the city behind us, then it's time to go to the state. That's our next stop. If we're successful here tonight, Mike and I are going to spend some time in Jeff City, hopefully with Roger's blessing and help, to go talk to the DNR and get that permit. That's the hard one to get, because they're very specific on who they let have transfer stations and how you have to have the transfer station constructed. We know that we have a transfer station that has success the last time that Republic ran it, so we do have it up there. So that helps us to go in and say, it's been a transfer station, we're not reinventing the wheel. That's the hard part, to take a brand new piece of property and build a transfer station. We think that's in our court. It takes 3 to 5 to 6 months from the DNR standpoint. So we're looking at a January 1 at minimum to getting this thing up and running. And that's okay. I mean, it's just part of the deal. If you want to get a landfill, well, if you want to get a landfill, we'd already be in Florida because we'd be so rich we wouldn't know what to do ourselves for what a landfill costs. But a transfer station makes good sense for us because that allows us to be able to control the trash flow and be able to use our tonnage to get a better deal at the different landfills that we'll be talking to, whether it be in Springfield, whether it be at Def Ball over in Johnson County, Sedalia. I mean, there's going to be different landfills that Mike and I will be talking to, which he can talk more about. So if you have any questions, that's kind of how it works. We have a hill yet to climb for this thing to become reality. I have a set of cards that I'm gonna give to Miss Mayor. If you'd like to have my number, my cell phone's on there. I'm a transparent kind of guy. If you have any questions, I don't care anytime, night or day, call me. You will know what's going on out there on Brickyard Road at all times, because we will be a partner of Harrisonville and make this thing work for us all. Mike, you got anything you'd like to say?
I think you covered it. My name again is Mike Claggett, and I've been working with Gail in connection with this, and I don't know what else I can add unless there are some questions that we can respond to.
How many trucks did you say is gonna be coming through a day?
Well, that's a good question. That's kind of asking me how many clouds are going to go over. But I will tell you this: the transfer station is just so big, so we know we can only handle so much volume. And right now we're looking between 18 to 26 trucks a day is probably what we're looking at reality as far as trash coming into the transfer station.
And gross weight coming in?
Gross weight's going to run anywhere from 40 to 55,000 pounds.
Okay.
So they're not real heavy. They're the rear load trucks.
Obviously, my biggest question is the upkeep of the roads going
Right.
from the interstate to your location.
Sure.
How much upkeep is gonna need to be, are we gonna be responsible for, I guess would be the.
Well, you now have Love's Trucks, which is right there with car wash, as well as you have roll-off services as well. So, I mean, you have truck traffic there. There is going to be more truck traffic. Back when we were here before, the road's pretty well the same. It hasn't changed. Matter of fact, I don't think it's been done anything to. And it's pretty well held up. So I don't think you're going to see a big problem there, sir. Of course, we will be a member of the family. So if we do tear something up, we're going to be wanting it. I actually own an asphalt company, so that doesn't hurt.
So you might be able to come and repair it.
Well, I can bring a truck down, put a little asphalt down with me, for sure. Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Okay, Counselor, you want to give us the amendment that you want us to?
I think if there's just simply an amendment to add the additional, Roger, help me, it was 7 items that were now provided to the council, to the Board of Aldermen, right?
Right.
Yeah. So simply an amendment to add those 7 additional restrictions.
So you'll be voting on Council Bill 51 as amended.
Do we make a motion to amend?
Yeah. Well, let me have first reading first, and then
Okay.
then you can make a motion to amend.
All right.
So first reading, Council Bill 51. Council Bill 51 is an ordinance, City of Harrisonville, Cass County, Missouri, granting a 10-year special use permit to Gail T. Holzman, Jr., and American Waste Systems to operate a solid waste transfer station at 2901 Brick Plank Road. First reading, Council Bill 051. Now, if anybody wants to make a motion to amend.
I'll make a motion to amend Council Bill 51 to add the additional 7 points in.
Excuse me, it's 8.
8, 8 points in.
They never closed the hearing.
All right. I have a motion from Alderman Milner and a second from Alderman Miller to approve Council Bill 51 as amended to include the 8 additional points that were somehow left off on the online
We
version.
didn't close the public hearing.
I'm sorry, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in the public hearing on this matter? I'll close that public hearing. Thank you for that. So now we're voting on the amendment to Council Bill 51 to include 8 additional points. I have the motion and the second, so we'll need a roll call, please.
Alderman Bachman. Alderman Reese. Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Dorhoff.
Aye.
Alderman Milner.
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson. Alderman Turner is absent, and Alderman Davidson.
Aye.
Thank you. Second reading.
Council Bill 51 is an ordinance to amend City of Harrisonville, Cass County, Missouri, granting a 10-year special use permit to Gail T. Holtzman, Jr. and American Waste Systems to operate a solid waste transfer station at 2901 Blick Plant Road, seconded Council Bill 051 as amended.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Milner.
Aye.
Alderman Dorhoff.
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderman Turner, absent. Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Davidson.
Aye.
Alderman Bachman. And Alderman Dickerson.
Aye.
Thank you. Council Bill 51 passes and becomes ordinance number 3472. Council Bill 52.
Council Bill 52 is an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Harrisonville, Missouri, repealing section of Chapter 205 Emergency Services, Fire Code, and Fireworks, and Chapter 215 Offenses Concerning Property to allow open burning for yard and vegetative waste in the City of Harrisonville, Missouri, and establish an effective date. First reading, Council Bill 052.
And Mr. Welch.
So we discussed this also at a work session, a couple of work sessions, trying to revise our burning regulations so that residents can do burning, but not to the open extent that DNR has now allowed by removing their regulations in the municipal zones. So this is the ordinance that we came up with on the variations or the various burning allowances that we were going to give the residents, depending upon whether it's residential or it's land clearing operation, times of day, the types of burning that they can do, the distances that they need to be from homes. Any questions?
Did you give the city attorney a copy of this?
So the title didn't change, it's just the formatting.
If it's just the formatting, then we're fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we're at Council Bill 52. So, does anyone want to suspend it to, or pass it to?
Make a motion to suspend, have second reading.
Okay. Okay. I have a motion from Alderman Davidson with a second from Alderman Dorhoff to advance Council Bill 52 to its second reading. Roll call, please.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson. Aye. Alderman Milner.
Aye.
Alderman Dorhoff.
Aye.
Alderman Bachman. Aye. Alderman Davidson.
Aye.
And Alderman Turner is absent.
Second reading.
Council Bill 52 is an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Harrisonville, Missouri, repealing section of Chapter 205 Emergency Services, Fire Code, Fireworks, and Chapter 215 Offenses Concerning Property to allow open burning of yard and vegetative waste in the City of Harrisonville, Missouri, and establish an effective date. Second reading, Council Bill 052.
Roll call.
Alderman Davidson.
Aye.
Alderman Reese. Aye. Alderman Bachman. Aye. Alderman Dorhoff.
Aye.
Alderman Milner.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Turner is absent. And Alderman Dickerson. Aye.
Thank you. Council Bill 52 passes and becomes ordinance number 3473. Council Bill 47.
Madam Mayor, Council Bill 47 was going to be the second reading of the Timber Drive ordinance that we had so much discussion about. Following that meeting, I did reach out to Ms. Hart. She directed me to speak only to her attorney. Her attorney's name is Richard Walters. He's in Springfield, Missouri. Mr. Walters is on vacation and could not be here tonight. He also wanted me to convey that the developer of Harrisonville Villas does want to work with the city. He, and I have confirmed it in writing, he confirmed two things for us. The first is that while he may disagree with the Attorney General's opinion, he absolutely agrees that this needs to be straightened out because that project will be audited by the state and federal government, and we do not want to have this issue hanging out there. So he agreed, and he wants to come meet with the city along with his client to try and see what we can get worked out. So he asked for this to be tabled. The second thing that he also absolutely confirmed was that the rent on these projects for the tenants that were here is rent controlled, and they cannot raise the rent. And he said over the course of many, many years, you might be able to increase the rent by $10. So it would not be a way, it is not a concern for those residents. This is not an issue that they need to be scared about. And he confirmed that to me. And so both of those things led me to request that we grant their request and we continue this so that we can see if we can work out and come to a better understanding. So that's why it's requested to be tabled.
So we put those people through now. And who read them?
They did.
Yeah, we did.
Absolutely, they did.
Therefore, I move to postpone Council Bill 47 to a future meeting. Second.
I appreciate that. I think sometimes it's important to step back and take a look at something and make sure you have all the information before you make a decision. So I have a motion from Alderman Davidson with a second from Alderman Dorhoff to postpone Council Bill 47 to a future Board of Aldermen meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Council Bill 47 will be scheduled at a later meeting of the Board of Aldermen. Alderman and committee reports. Alderman Bockelman, welcome back. It's good to see you. Alderman Dorhoff?
No.
Okay. Alderman Milner?
Just a reminder that school, unfortunately, is getting ready to start again. So everybody, please pay attention in the mornings. Make sure no little peeps are running out in front of you, and that school buses in front of you are probably going to come to a stop. So please, everybody, pay attention.
Thank you. Where did the summer go?
It did not happen.
Alderman Reeves?
Nothing.
Thank you. Alderman Miller?
I have nothing, but in reference to number 9 on the agenda, I cannot stay tonight, so I'm gonna have to pass on that. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Dickerson?
No.
Alderman Davidson?
And to piggyback off Alderman Milner, make sure you observe the speed limit signs in the school crossings. I'm sure that the chief of police and his department will be watching those fiercely at the beginning of the school as they normally do. And also, this past week, I received a commendation from, or comments on some good work that was done, referenced a theft at trade fair, some work that the police department and their officers did to bring that to a closure. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we're doing good things about your department. So, that's it.
I'm sure the chief appreciates that. Thank you, Alderman. Reports from the city administrator.
You have my report in front of you. I don't have anything to add tonight. Any questions?
Questions from the media? Nothing? All right.
Make a motion to, pardon me, adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.021, rehiring, firing, discipline, promotion, employees.
Roll call.
Alderman Bockelman?
No.
Alderman Reese?
Aye.
Alderman Davidson?
Aye.
Alderman Dorhoff?
Aye.
Alderman Miller?
No.
Alderman Turner? Absent. Alderman Milner?
Aye.
And Alderman Dickerson?
Nay.
Thank you. We're adjourned to executive session.